Redshirts by John Scalzi. Kind of what I expected, but kind of not. Anyone that knows the joke around Redshirts from Star Trek knows that the Redshirts die on away missions. Mm-hmm. And he runs with that. And then throws a curveball that I wasn't expecting. Were you expecting it?
I had no expectations.
So what were your like, other than, Redshirts die, did you have anything going in?
I knew that. Well, first of all, I picked this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it wasn't too bad.
No, I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. It's our second sci-fi for the channel. It was going well. It was going quite well until the main part, which is 24 chapters,
mm-hmm.
It wrapped up, and then there's these 3 codas, and they're in 3 different points of view. And the first coda, I was fine. The second and third, I'm just like, really? This is some freaking...
Hit you in the feels a little bit? Made you start thinking?
Yes. I don't need these kind of existential thoughts. Scalzi, I can conjure them up on my own. I don't need you bringing them to my reading. I guess we should probably, talk a little bit more about what this is about, though, since this is a book discussion. So, yes, spoilers will be plenty.
So I went into it thinking it would be like a spoof off of Star Trek where just all the Redshirts just kept dying.
Kind of.
But
started out that way.
I wasn't expecting it to be like, they're actually in the world of a show and they're at the mercy of the writers.
Right.
But they are actually alive?
So...
Like their existence is dominated by the narrator.
The narrative,
yes.
Well, and so all the people on the ship, the Intrepid, mm-hmm. they all have some inkling that something is not right about this ship.
And they try to avoid the main cast.
They try to avoid the captains and the higher-ups, the commanders, the lieutenants, because these people all seem to go on away missions.
And whoever's with them.
Whoever's with them usually doesn't come back. But they can get injured and beat up and whatever, and they recover perfectly fine. And
the one guy, he gets hurt on every away mission.
Lieutenant Kerensky.
Yeah.
He gets to death's doorstep and always miraculously recovers.
And he's ready for the next episode.
And the next episode, he's leading another away mission like nothing ever happened. Except they don't know it's episodes at this point. They just are... This is when they're like, really? He should be dead. How is he gone from death's doorstep to now he's leading another away mission? And so... There's this, Yeti-looking fellow, which is pretty much... He's just not very well groomed.
Mm-hmm.
And he lives in the cargo hold of the ship Intrepid, and he pretty much has figured it out. He thinks.
His theory is that they're, in a show, but it's their lives on the line.
Right. So, the show is 2012 when it's on the air mm-hmm. with these particular characters. So if the character dies in 2012, they die in whatever year we are here.
Mm-hmm.
So... it's an interesting concept.
Yes.
And they go back in time. I think it's 4 or 5 main people.
Yes.
Go back to 2012, and
not the main people in the narrative.
No, the main characters in the book.
Right.
Who are the Redshirts? They go minus the one Kerensky, who they take because they know
plot armor.
That yes, okay. So they go back to 2012. Some of them encounter their actor selves,
mm-hmm.
identical. Talk about a mind trip. So, and in doing that, they somehow convince the writers to... Eventually they end the show, but before they end the show, they kill less people.
Well, the writer, the head writer finds out that, every time you just kill someone, they're actually dying.
Someone, is dying, for real.
There's a little bit of a trade, though, that...
Well, because is it the producer of the show?
I think so, yeah.
His son got into a motorcycle accident, like right before he was supposed to appear on an episode. I think that's how it happened. And there's an actual character, like in the future, who
came back with them.
Who came and resembles the son. So they're all thinking that because the son got in the accident, he's been in this coma in 2012. So then the character Hester, who we also find out later has a real name, because his real name his first name is never known.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so it's Jasper. Jasper Hester, not Jasper Hester, comes back to 2012. And in appearing at this meeting with the producer to try to convince them to stop the show or at least kill less people, they think the son has miraculously came out of this coma and is upright walking like nothing's ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. So, anyways, we're probably not doing it justice in explaining it.
No.
But it's good.
Yeah.
It's a thinker in a different way. Because, go ahead, you look like you want to say something. No, go ahead.
No, I was thinking, she has thoughts.
You act like I never have thoughts. That was a very, wow, she has thoughts coming.
No, not like that.
You schmucko.
Not like that. But in, maybe other selves or something, you have thoughts.
Well, my thoughts were, because... I wish I could explain this better so that it could maybe come across better, but, in the Coda 2, second person, we are with the son, Matthew Paulson.
Who has made a miraculous recovery. Because of when they went back into 2012... Hester, and I may get this wrong, so pay attention because you might have to correct me. Hester and him... Well, back up. There's a rule. The people from the future can only be back in 2012 or any time period for 6 days, or their atoms dissolve, vaporize. They are no more. And they don't know that if they dissolve there, if the person in 2012 would still be around as well. Okay, so... When they went back in time and they see that Matthew Paulson is in a coma, one of the ways they try to, get the show stopped is to work out a deal with his father, who's the producer, and by saving his life. So they essentially take Hester from the future and swap bodies with Matthew from 2012. So if I understand correctly, it's now Matthew's body with Hester's mind is in the future, and so long as everyone acknowledges the future guy as Hester, he is Hester. And so long as everyone acknowledges Matthew, who's in future Hester's body, he's Matthew. Does that make sense? Yes. So I'm not exactly sure on how it works.
There was a body swap.
Yes. So...
because in the future they had the technology to... heal him. So...
Or use the box.
The box, which the box is pretty much what the future folk use when the science makes no sense. But it has to develop for the narrative's sake.
And it comes up with almost the answer at the correct dramatic moment.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, it's a good story. But what I was getting to was, in Coda 2, Matthew, he has some idea that something is wrong, because he can't remember anything between
the wreck
and when he regained consciousness. And his body looks like perfectly healthy.
Like it hadn't been in a motorcycle accident.
It had not been in a motorcycle. Yeah, because he got his medical records and he's comparing and contrasting and he's like, what the hell, something's going on. So he finally does his stint on the episode, but on the episode he has to be in a coma. Because, whatever happens there,
is happening in...
Future. And he's like, I don't understand why I'm, like, doing this, whatever. And then 2 of the characters who are on the show are also very vigilant. Because these 2 characters, one of which is a main character, they met their future selves.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, developed a friendship and a bond and whatnot.
It was cool.
Yeah, it worked. So they're trying to make sure that everything goes as it needs to go so that their future selves do not end up
and then
dead.
He ends up approaching them because he sees them talking off to the side.
Yeah, because he's like, why are you guys staring at me? Are you trying to, like, flirt with me so that maybe your careers can get higher up because I'm the producer's son? Whatever. No, they're looking at him to make sure everything goes as planned. And one of them finally tells him everything. So then in Coda 2, we are with him. Oh yeah, this is all happening in Coda 2. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry, my apologies. And the one character tells him, this guy Hester from the future left you a message. Whatever. So he finds the message. He talks to... So Hester... Why am I doing all the talking? Hester is talking via a camera that he recorded himself once he figured out how to work it.
Basically saying, you know...
What the fuck are you doing with your life, man?
Well, before that, he's like, even if I die because of this and it doesn't work out, I died for something.
Right. But he was saying that, you know, since they are the same, they've both been kind of drifting around. And that's why he's like, what are we doing with our lives? We've been given this opportunity. We need to really make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. It's just like...
Speaks to you?
It speaks to me, and I'm just like, God damn it. Because I'm like, I didn't want this kind of thinking. I've had too many years of it. So then that made me think, okay, I have had many thoughts of what I should do with my life in the past. Like, I should do this, or I should do that. And, well, now current, thank you, Scalzi. But anyways, you know, what? And thank you, Mr. Erikson from freaking Gardens of the Moon with his, what should I do with my life? What has it been? Whatever. So I was thinking that maybe, hear me out on this, maybe I haven't been able to pursue any of those thoughts in their fullness because there's another version of me somewhere already doing it and we can't be doing the same thing.
I'm starting to get a headache.
And maybe I can't be fully content because the happiness is spread out amongst the different versions. I've spread myself too thin. What if every time I think about wanting to do something, a new version of me is created somewhere else and they're doing it? So then that's a little bit more of me sucked out.
I do not know what to tell you about that.
And then,
Ooh.
if we're being written as our main characters were in this book.
This is a horrible show.
It's a horrible show, yes. If we're being written, why would you put the knowledge of that on the person with the most boring life? Why would you give them that knowledge? That their best life could be being led, but by a different version of themselves. See, existential, philosophical, it's too early in the day for all that. What? No thoughts. None whatsoever, other than I have married a crazy woman.
I'm not thinking that, it's just I don't have any answers to your questions.
And then, let's do the flip side. What if you encountered your future self and you found out that the actions of what you're doing affect them and they can't really do anything about it? Like in here, if they get axed in 2012 on this terrible show, they're axed in... What are we in? 2100s or something.
Something like that.
Because the show is called The Chronicles of the Intrepid, and the future folk are on the Intrepid. How would you feel? Like, at one point, the character Dull, who I would say he's probably the main...
He is the main
future character.
Yeah.
He encounters, when he's in 2012, the actor that portrayed his real-life friend, Finn...
Who died
in a previous episode via an exploding head. Oh my god.
That's writing for you.
Yeah. So how could, I mean, that would be like...
He was kind of weirded out.
Dull?
Yeah.
The future main character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he even was like, let me take a picture with you, because he wanted to show his friends that he met the guy who played Finn. And Finn's character player doesn't know anything about any of it.
No.
But could you imagine? Like, so now the two that do know... Aye. But could you imagine? Like, they found out while their characters in the future were still alive. Could you imagine if you were like that? I think the guy's name was Nick. If you found out then and there that your person in the future actually died, you'd have to live with that. This is too much. I don't think it was supposed to be like this.
You're going really deep.
I'm just going to stick to the surface. That's all I'm going to do. From here on out, no more trying to look below the written words. I'm just going to be surface.
He does pose the questions in those, but doesn't really give you any answers.
Well, hell, after they think they've found the answer, the main future character is still questioning...
Oh, the one guy.
The existence. Because there's one future character who doesn't really play a role.
But he's always there.
But he's always there. He went back in time with them. So...
And then that character's kind of like, eh?
I mean, so is he, like, writing?
Is that Scalzi in the story?
And then... Oh, is it Scalzi? Ooh. But then, who's to say when they go back in time that that's not being written? Maybe that was.
Well, that's what Dahl was talking about.
Yeah, maybe Hansen, the why are you here? You haven't really portrayed a role. Are you Scalzi character? Was writing it all. Oh my god, this is just too much. Anyways, it was a really good book. We will have an overall thoughts video that will not be as... Are we good? You didn't say much. I feel horrible, because...
Well, you had a lot more thoughts on it.
Well...
I thought it was... It portrayed those questions, but you spoke them so eloquently.
Oh my god. I don't know eloquence. Anyway, is that even a word?
Sure.
Well, what did you think? So like I said at the top, I picked this out. I didn't know... I mean, we are familiar with the author.
I think...
Did you... Well, I guess we can't really say that. That would be an overall thoughts thing, but...
I think from Coda 3, I would be more like the girl's sister. I don't think about alternatives that much because it doesn't really...
Right. Well, and you're talking about, so Samantha Martinez is the actress who portrayed one of the future characters' wife, and the wife died.
She was on the show for maybe a minute.
Maybe a minute. And in fact, she was married to the guy, Jenkins, who's Yeti-like and lives in the tunnels and discovered this whole...
And this death caused him to become that.
Right. So then actually, when they're heading back in time, Jenkins asks Dahl to present to her, if he can locate her,
all the memories and stuff.
Like, he made this little box of memories with letters and everything.
And video and pictures. And...
So she got to learn about the person who she portrayed. And so then that puts her, like me, in this questionable state of mind. And when she's having lunch with her sister, that's where you're like, I'd be like her. But her sister was also content with her life. She's married, had a kid, she was content. maybe her sister Samantha is not.
Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, it's if you're not happy with your current life or you're not feeling fulfilled, I feel like it's easier to look at alternatives.
Yeah.
But if you're happy, you're like, well, why would I want something different? I'm fine.
Or you have a it is what it is kind of
Mentality.
Yeah.
I think that's when you've just given up.
There's been times.
Yeah, so. But. So you would be more of the meh. And I'm all like, meh.
Well, there's a time and a place for those thoughts. It's not all the time.
Right. Yeah.
And I freaking called it.
What did you call?
Jenkins, the guy that's the Yeti, was portrayed once as the head writer.
No, he wasn't portrayed as the head writer. He was portrayed by the head writer.
You know what I meant.
Yes, they had to fill in a spot or something.
He just filled in to, be that character.
Yep.
So at the very end of the book...
Third coda, third person.
She's out there spreading the ashes of all these memories for the character she portrayed.
Mm-hmm.
And who's standing on the beach where she's spreading the ashes?
Nick Weinstein, the writer of the show. A.K.A. the person who portrayed Jenkins on the show.
The husband.
The husband, yep.
So the end of the book is them walking away arm in arm.
Yep. Going to get probably lunch at P.F. Chang's because that seems to be the popular dining place.
In 2012.
In 2012 in Burbank, California.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's that. John Scalzi, Redshirts.
Yeah, good book.
Yep, stay tuned for our overall thoughts coming soon.